Good morning. This is the first public service announcement that Sebastian has made about the COVID-19 pandemic. And we're going to have 4 people talk. We're going to have the city manager, Paul Carlisle, and our police chief and our new police chief are going to both have a few words about this. First, I'd like to thank everyone who has contacted me or other city leaders during this emergency about specific items they'd like discussed. I think it's important that we get that feedback from the public, and we will continue to answer your emails if you send those in. I'd like each resident of Sebastian to know that the city's being taken care of. It's functioning through this emergency, and it'll continue to function. And that the safety of our residents is the first thing that's in mind as we take actions on this. For those of you who don't know, on the 17th of March, I signed a declaration of municipal emergency, and in that transferred to the city manager the powers that he needs or authorities that he needs to manage the city during this emergency. And he is continuing to use those to take care of the vital city business. Prior to the 17th, the city manager and the city managers of all the cities in the county, as well as the county administrator, had daily conference calls discussing the pandemic and the actions that need to be taken. The objective of that was to have a unified action plan across the entire county. Those calls have continued since the 17th. Once the municipal emergency declarations were signed by each of the cities, they included in that law enforcement, the fire department, and the emergency management system from the county. No one in the county is taking unilateral action on this. All the actions that Sebastian is taking have been done as a result of those conference calls and a concise plan that's being put together for the entire county, so everyone does the same thing. We're currently following the governor's direction on the safer at home policy. Our staff is now working from home where it's possible for them to do that. We continue to work on things like street repair, stormwater projects, and other projects that we can do with our staff maintaining proper distance and safety. Most of our parks are open. We're doing a daily cleaning and disinfecting of the major parks, and we're doing that every other day on the minor parks. As of yesterday, we have closed the tennis courts and pickleball facilities primarily because we couldn't guarantee social distancing in those facilities and people were starting to gather there, so we felt it was better, and the city manager felt it was better, and he closed those 2 facilities. Actually 2 tennis facilities and a pickleball court. As I said, our parks remain open, and we will keep them open unless we're directed by the state to close them, or unless we find that we cannot maintain the parks open and people not gather in those parks. So if you use the parks, please don't gather, keep your social distance. Right now, and the police chief will discuss this a little bit further, but right now grocery stores, drug stores, general merchandise stores, etc. are open. We have visited, city officers have visited each of those stores within the city of Sebastian and asked them to maintain social distancing, and as far as we know, they're complying with that at this time. One of the questions that I've had people ask me is, how is the city dealing with their contractual obligations and with the other business that they're supposed to be carrying on? I will tell you that the city manager has the authority to keep the city operational, and he's doing a really good job doing that. He's put some items on hold that require meetings with the city staff or the public. Some of those items are near and dear to the hearts of a lot of people, and they will be picked up on once this emergency is over. City manager and his staff are also working on planning for what will happen after the COVID-19 fades. There's a lot of work that they'll have to do on preparing financial projections and other contingency plans, especially contingency plans that update our emergency plan for in case COVID-19 returns sometime in the fall, which is being projected right now at the federal level. If it does return, hopefully the lessons that we learned this spring will allow us to more simply implement the plan in the fall. 2 other items I want to mention other than COVID-19. First, there is a burn ban in the county, so if you'd please refrain from burning. We're in a very high dry season right now. And secondly, the census. I know it's not part of this, but it's very important to the city of Sebastian that the census be done properly and accurately. So if you haven't done so, please go online and complete your census forms. keep safe, keep well, and help your neighbor, because there's a lot of people who really can't go out. I'm going to turn this over to Paul Carlisle, the city manager, at this time.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, this is a trying time for all of us. Most of us have been in this area, have been through hurricanes and those types of disasters, and this is much different. As the mayor said, stores and retail shops, gas stations will be open. There's no reason to go and panic buy. The food chain supply is available. Supplies are there. Stores are working hard to keep everything stocked. So because of the new order, we had some concerns that people would want to go and do those types of things. Again, those supplies, the food chain is up, gas stations are up. We don't anticipate losing any power or water, so there's no reason to panic on that and to binge buy. Try to do it orderly, buy what you need, try to do it maybe once a week, help your neighbors if you can. If you're going to the store, buy for your neighbors. Now is not the time to congregate. Now is not the time to hold backyard parties and invite all your friends over. The safer order, Executive Order 20-91, requires people over, senior citizens to remain at home and to have others shop for them if at all possible. Now that doesn't mean you have to sequester. If you have to go to the store, you have to go to the doctor, those are all acceptable, but the order specifically states that seniors should remain at home and isolate from people that may have been infected or may have been out in the public. So this order could be one of the first steps. It has a lot of variance in it that allows for things to happen, but we have to make sure that we don't violate it, because what caused this order was the fact that people weren't voluntarily doing their social separation. And again, now's not the time to panic, now's the time to plan, and now's the time to take care of you and your family. The executive order is on our website, www.cityofsebastian.org, and it's broken down into several parts. So you can go to the part that's important to you. It's healthcare, public health, law enforcement, public safety, and first responders, food and agriculture, energy, petroleum industry, gas, natural gas, water and wastewater, transportation and logistics, public works and infrastructure. It's broken down to other community government-based operations and essential functions, communications and information technology, hazardous materials, critical manufacturing, financial services, chemical, defense industrial base, commercial facilities, residential shelter facilities and services, and hygiene products and services. In addition to that, they also reference the Executive Order 2089 for Miami-Dade, and there's other items that are expanded on even more in more depth in the Miami-Dade order that's also on our website. So if you're concerned if your business is allowed to operate, please go there, and if it's not on that list, even though the list says it's not all-encompassing, I would recommend that you take caution and not open if it's something that's not on that list in one of those categories. But again, we're here to provide for the city and to try to make this as easy as possible on everyone and safe. So if you can do everything you can to try to remain home if at all possible and to self-isolate, that would be most helpful in this. And with it, excuse me, I will turn it over to the chief.
Thank you, sir. First off, I think it's very important what both the mayor and the city manager have said is that we don't panic. It's important that we all work together and remember that, you know, we're human, but we need to stop the spread of this virus. And the only way we're going to stop the spread is for everyone to stay at home unless they absolutely have to go to the grocery store, to work, or wherever that's vital or essential. The police department will be enforcing to the best of our abilities to ensure that people are keeping the social distance when they're out in public. The grocery stores, all the essential stores, your hardware stores. I've been in several of them. Our officers are going to them and speaking with management to ensure that they are trying to enforce social distancing. And it does appear that those in Sebastian are definitely doing that. And we want everyone, when you see these stores practicing that social distance, to make sure you're doing your part as well. If anyone sees just a violation, an egregious violation, please call our non-emergency number, which is 772-589-5233, and listen for the prompts. Only use 911 if it is an absolute emergency. Remember, our staff is being tasked with doing a lot more than they have in the past with this pandemic, and it's important that we keep our staff safe. When you do call in, we will be asking if you want contact with an officer. We are asking about how you feel, if you've been anywhere. So please be honest with that staff so we don't expose any of our officers or our employees. Again, only call 911 if it is vital. If you've called the police department, you will know that we are not responding to all calls for service. We are taking a lot of calls over the phone. That is to ensure your safety as well as ours. Again, I can't say it enough, it's important that we stay at home unless you absolutely have to go out. If you do come across people, keep that distance. We do have extra patrol on to check the parks, to check the stores, to ensure that people are doing their part to stop the spread. Thank you very much, and I'll turn you over to who will be your new chief in May, Dan Acosta.
Thank you, Chief Morris. Obviously, I reiterate the statements and the instructions made by the city manager, the mayor, and Chief Morris. We've always had a great relationship with our citizens, and a lot of citizens have called recently asking what you can do to help. And that's exactly it. If you can remain at home unless you need these essential supplies, call the police department when you need us. You'll help us to accomplish our job, and together we'll get through this safely. We also want everyone to know that we put out information on our social media, Facebook pages, the City of Sebastian and the Sebastian Police Department, for updates continuously all day, every day. Thank you.
All right, thank you. It's very good information coming from the city manager and our dual police chiefs. It's a city of Sebastian is lucky right now to actually have 2 police chiefs in service. It's important to remember the things that they said about not calling 911 unless it's an absolute emergency, because you'll tie up a system that is going to be needed by someone who's really having an absolute emergency. Look at our Facebook page, look at the cityofsebastian.com page, and remember, no matter what, the city staff and the city's police department is here for you and for your safety, and we'll continue to dedicate ourselves to that effort. Stay safe, stay home, and this will soon be over, and we'll look at it in the future as telling our grandkids and great-grandkids that where we were when the great COVID-19 pandemic started. Thank you. Good night.